Wait, Alexander, what are you doing? My heart dropped when I saw Alexander adjust his phone screen and gesture for me to move out of the camera frame. We were both in his apartment, and he was about to start his gaming livestream. I had thought maybe he would introduce me. After all, we'd been together for 3 months. But he just smiled and said, "Won't take long, baby. Just stay to the side for a bit." To the side? You mean hide? I didn't say anything because I thought maybe I was overreacting. I just convinced myself this was normal. Streamers keep their personal lives private, right? I walked into the kitchen and started making coffee, but my eyes kept drifting back to him. In front of the camera, Alexander became a completely different person. Energetic, funny, charming. His subscribers called him Alex the King, and he flirted with all of them like I didn't even exist. "Yo chat, how's everyone doing?" Alexander started talking to his fans, and I heard that smoothness in his voice that was never there when he spoke to me. Then someone in the chat asked, "Alex, do you have a girlfriend?" My hand froze on the coffee cup. I held my breath, waiting for his answer. "Haha, no man, I'm completely single. Relationships aren't for me right now. I need to focus on my grind," he said with a laugh, and his voice was so casual, like he hadn't just told a massive lie. A strange pain rose in my chest, like someone had pulled something tight inside me. He lied. Live. In front of thousands of people. I told myself maybe he just wanted privacy, that this was his public image. But then he continued, "Yeah man, I tried relationships once. There was this one guy, super clingy type, wanted attention all the time, constant validation. Thank God that phase is over." My breathing stopped completely. Was he talking about me? My being clingy? I had only shown him love, taken care of him. Was that clingy? I stood frozen in the kitchen, like someone had poured cement into my feet. Alexander laughed. The chat was laughing with emojis. And me? I was just listening to my boyfriend mock me. The coffee had gone cold in my hand. After the stream ended, Alexander came into the kitchen, smiling like nothing had happened. "Hey babe, stream went great. Want to go to dinner? Your favorite Italian place?" I looked at him. His eyes didn't hold the love I needed, just familiarity, a habit, like I was some routine chore. "Alexander," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady, "why did you tell them you're single?" His smile faded slightly, but he recovered quickly. "Oh that. Come on Archer. You know my fans wouldn't like it. It's just for content, baby. Don't take it seriously." "Content?" I whispered, and my own voice sounded foreign to me. And he just shrugged, like it was nothing, like my breaking heart meant nothing. I stood there for a moment, the kitchen light casting shadows across the counter. The coffee maker was still warm, steam rising from the forgotten cup. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the casual way he dismissed my feelings, or maybe it was the realization that this wasn't the first time he'd made me feel small. "I need some air," I finally said, setting down the cup. "Archer, you're being dramatic," Alexander called after me, but I was already grabbing my jacket. Outside, the evening air hit my face like a wake-up call. I walked aimlessly for blocks, my mind replaying every moment of that stream. The way he laughed, the way he described someone, me as clingy, the way thousands of strangers agreed with him, validated him, while I stood hidden in his kitchen like a dirty secret. My phone buzzed. Alexander's text, "Where did you go? Dinner reservation is in 20 minutes. I stared at the message. No apology, no acknowledgement of what he'd said. Just annoyance that I'd disrupted his plans. I typed back, "Not hungry. Going home." 3 dots appeared immediately. "You're seriously upset about the stream? It's just entertainment, Archer. Grow up, grow up." Those 2 words hit harder than anything he'd said on camera. I pocketed my phone and kept walking. The city lights blurred as tears finally came, not dramatic sobs, just quiet streams down my face that I wiped away with my sleeve. When I got back to my apartment, everything felt different. The photos of us on my nightstand looked staged now. His toothbrush in my bathroom felt like an invasion. Even the hoodie he'd left on my chair seemed like evidence of something fake. I sat on my bed and opened Instagram. Alexander's stream clips were already trending. Comments poured in. "Alex is so real for this. Clingy people are the worst. Stay single, king." Each comment was a knife, but I kept scrolling like I was punishing myself. Then I saw one that made me pause. My ex was like that too. Constant need for reassurance. So exhausting. Is that what I was? I thought back to all the times I'd texted him good morning, sent him encouragement before streams, cooked dinner when he was tired. Was that exhausting? My phone rang. Alexander's name flashed across the screen. I let it ring out. He called again. And again. On the fourth call I answered. What? Alexander, finally. Jesus. Archer, you can't just walk out like that. I had to cancel our reservation. That's what you're worried about. The reservation? What else would I? Oh, you're still mad about the stream thing. Look. I told you it's content. My audience expects a certain image from me, an image that doesn't include me. There was a pause. It's complicated. No, it's simple. You're ashamed of me. I'm not ashamed, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I just need to maintain my brand. When the time is right, I'll tell everyone. I promise. When will that be? Another pause. Longer this time. When my channel is more stable. When I have enough subscribers that losing some won't matter. So I'm a risk. A potential loss of subscribers. You're twisting my words. Am I? I felt something shift inside me. A door closing. You know what, Alexander? Don't worry about it. Maintain your brand. Keep your image. I won't interfere. Archer. Don't be like this. I hung up. Then I did something I'd been too scared to do before. I looked up other streamers who were openly in relationships. Dozens of them. Hundreds maybe. Gay couples. Straight couples. All types. Their channels were thriving. Their audiences supported them. So why couldn't Alexander do the same? The answer settled heavy in my stomach, because he didn't want to. I turned off my phone and lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere in the city, Alexander was probably already planning his next stream, crafting his next performance. And I was here, alone, wondering when I'd become so invisible. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow I'll figure out what to do. But tonight I just needed to sit with this pain, acknowledge it, feel it fully, because something told me this was only the beginning. So I'm your secret? That's all I am? I asked this question at 2 in the morning, when we were both lying in his bed and moonlight was streaming through the window. Alexander grabbed my hand, his touch didn't feel as warm anymore, and said, Archer, this isn't as simple as you think. My audience is conservative, traditional mindset. If I come out, sponsors will leave. Everything ends. I could understand it logically, but understanding and accepting are completely different things, and my heart was far from acceptance. The following week, the same thing happened. I hid during stream time. Again. And again. Every single time. Sometimes I'd sit in the bathroom scrolling through my phone. Sometimes I'd put on headphones in the bedroom and listen to music. Once I stood on the balcony in the January cold, shivering. Just because Alexander had said, just 10 minutes, baby. Quick stream. 10 minutes turned into 3 hours. My fingers went numb from the cold. A few days later, I gathered the courage to decide I'd properly confront him, that we'd talk about this. But when I went to his place, I saw he'd put up a new photo frame near his gaming setup. Him and some girl, both smiling. I felt my stomach twist and asked, who's this? Oh, her? That's my cousin, Maya. Fans think she's my girlfriend. Cute, right? Engagement's going up because of it, he said so casually. Like this was completely normal. My heart broke in that moment. I was his boyfriend, but in his life I was nothing more than a prop, a convenience. Something that could be removed at any time. Then one night when Alexander was in the shower, I accidentally picked up his buzzing phone. A notification appeared from his manager. Keep playing straight for now. 2 major brand deals in pipeline. Can't risk it. Playing straight. So this was all planned. This was strategy. A business decision. And me? I was just an inconvenience that didn't fit into this plan. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling and wondered how long I'd keep accepting this. In the morning, when Alexander came out fresh, drying his hair with a towel, I looked him straight in the eyes and asked, Am I an embarrassment to you, Alexander? Tell me the truth. He laughed. Actually laughed at my serious question. Why is your mind going crazy, Archer? I love you, you know that. Just give me some time. When everything's stable, I'll tell everyone. But his eyes didn't have that conviction. He was acting, And now I was realizing that maybe he was doing with me what he did with his fans, performing. And then, at exactly that moment, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, you're Archer, right? Alexander's boyfriend? The voice was nervous, hesitant. My heart stopped. Who are you? I'm Blake, Alexander's ex. And I really need to talk to you. Please. For your own good. The name hit me like cold water. I'd heard Alexander mention an ex once. Dismissively, calling him too sensitive and couldn't handle the lifestyle. Now that same ex was calling me and every instinct told me to listen. Why? I managed to ask. Because I know exactly what you're going through. The hiding. The promises. The feeling like you're going crazy for wanting basic respect. Blake's voice cracked slightly. I went through it for a year, Archer. Don't make my mistake. I looked over at Alexander, who was now checking his phone, probably reading comments from his latest stream. He looked so absorbed, so content in his digital world. A world where I didn't exist. Where do you want to meet? I asked Blake, my voice barely above a whisper. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Morrison. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. I'll be there. After I hung up, Alexander glanced at me. Who was that? Wrong number. I lied. The irony wasn't lost on me. Now I was the one hiding things. That night, I lay awake next to Alexander, listening to him sleep peacefully while my mind raced. I thought about all the times he'd promised next time would be different. All the times I'd squeezed myself into the smallest possible space physically and emotionally, just to fit into his life. All the times I'd told myself that love meant sacrifice. But when does sacrifice become erasure? I got up carefully, not wanting to wake him, and went to the living room. His laptop was open, still logged into his streaming account. I knew I shouldn't look, but I couldn't help myself. I scrolled through his messages with his manager. Audience analytics show 68% male viewers are single and prefer you single too. Keep that image. The cousin angle is working great. Straight female fans love the unavailable but not really vibe. Whatever you do, don't confirm or deny anything about your personal life. Mystery sells. Each message felt like a betrayal. This wasn't just about privacy or timing. This was calculated. Strategic. I was a liability in a business plan. I closed the laptop and went back to bed. But sleep never came. When morning arrived, Alexander woke up cheerful, already planning his day around his streaming schedule. He kissed my forehead, a gesture that now felt mechanical, and said, I've got a collab stream today. You okay hanging at your place? Not want to come over later? Not miss you already? Just an assumption that I'd make myself scarce. Sure, I said. Great. Love you, he called out. Already halfway to the bathroom, I left his apartment and went straight home. The hours until 2 o'clock dragged endlessly. I tried to distract myself with work, with TV, with anything, but my mind kept circling back to one question. What would Blake tell me? At 1:30 I left for the coffee shop. I arrived early and picked a table in the back corner where we wouldn't be easily seen. My coffee arrived and I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, trying to steady my nerves. At exactly 2 o'clock the door opened, and a guy about my age walked in. He looked around uncertainly until our eyes met. There was instant recognition, not of each other but of shared pain. He walked over, and before he even sat down, I knew my life was about to change. Thank you for coming, Blake said, sliding into the seat across from me. I almost didn't call, thought maybe I should just let it go, move on. But then I remembered how alone I felt when I was in your position. And I couldn't do that to someone else. How did you even get my number? Alexander uses the same passwords for everything. His phone was easy to unlock when we were together. I memorized your contact before I left. He paused. I know that sounds creepy, but I wanted to chew whoever came after me. Warn me about what? Blake's eyes met mine, and in them I saw my future if I stayed. Everything. Blake asked me to meet at a quiet coffee shop, a bit away from downtown. I had thought maybe he wanted to create some drama. Typical jealous ex vibes. But when he arrived and sat down across from me, there was no revenge or anger in his eyes. Just tired sadness that I was beginning to feel in myself too. He seemed like my type of person. Normal, simple, far from any flashy personality. Relatable. You know Alexander does live streams, right? Blake asked as his first question after ordering coffee. Yeah, obviously. I I met him through that, I said, confused about why he was asking. And he makes you hide during stream times? Blake asked directly, and there was no judgment in his voice. Just understanding. My hand tightened on the coffee cup. How do you know? Blake took a long breath. Like talking about this was difficult for him too. Because Archer, he did the exact same thing with me. Exactly the same. For a whole year. Every stream, I'd hide. Sometimes in another room. Sometimes outside. He told me the same lines. Just give it time, everything will be okay. When my channel is stable, I'll tell the world. But that time never came, Archer. Never. I felt a weight settle in my chest, like someone had placed a stone there. So, why did you break up then? Blake smiled, but that smile was so full of pain I could feel it. I didn't break up with him. He broke up with me. When his audience grew and he got bigger brand deals, he told me, we can't be together, Blake. You're not right for my image. Then he put up that photo of his cousin and showed everyone she was his girlfriend. That same Maya, the same cousin. The same photo frame I had seen yesterday. Alexander only wants fame, Archer. Just validation and numbers. And for that, he'll use anyone. Even if it means breaking your heart. No matter how many times he says I love you, his S will never match. I didn't drink my coffee. It was getting cold there in my hands. I just kept looking into Blake's eyes and listening to his story that sounded exactly like mine. Like someone was showing me a mirror of my future. I called you because I don't want you to suffer like I did, Blake said. And now there was some strength in his voice. I wasted a year believing his lies. You should know that your Biverg is just acting with you. To him, you're just a secret. An inconvenience he's compartmentalized. We sat there for an hour and Blake told me everything. How Alexander had made him the same promises. How he too had convinced himself that next time everything would be fine. How he kept hiding and lying to himself. But what Blake said next changed everything for me. Do you know why he really keeps us hidden? Blake leaned forward. It's not about sponsors or conservative audiences. I did research after we broke up. There are tons of successful streamers who are openly gay, openly in relationships. Their channels are doing great, some even bigger than Alexander's. This hit me hard. Then why? Because Alexander likes the attention. He likes the mystery. He likes having thousands of people speculate about his love life. He likes the female fans who think they have a chance. He likes the male fans who see him as one of them. Being openly in a relationship, especially with a man, would make him real. And real doesn't get as many views as fantasy. I felt sick. So it was never about protecting his career. No, it was about feeding his ego. Blake pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots. Look at these. These are messages he sent me while we were together. I read them. Messages to his friends. Blake's getting too attached. Might need to cut him loose soon. Messages to his manager. The single guy image is working. Let's keep it going. Messages to other streamers. Yeah, I'm seeing someone, but it's casual. Nothing serious, nothing serious. While Blake had been in love with him, there's more, Blake said quietly. After he dumped me, he did a stream where he talked about his toxic ex who couldn't respect boundaries. That ex was me. And you know what I had done? I asked him to meet my parents. That was my crime. Wanting him to be part of my real life. My hands were shaking now. Did he tell his audience your name? No, but he gave enough details that people I knew recognized it was about me. I got messages from strangers calling me clingy, desperate, psycho. All because Alexander needed content and I was convenient. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too warm. I needed air, but I also needed to hear everything. Why are you telling me all this? I asked. You could have just moved on, forgotten about him. Blake's expression softened. Because when I was going through it, I felt crazy. Like maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was too needy. Maybe if I just tried harder, loved him better, he finally choose me. He paused. I don't want you to waste time like I did. You deserve someone who's proud to be with you, Archer. Not someone who treats you like a mistake he has to hide. He sat in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop buzzed with normal life. People laughing, typing on laptops, having ordinary conversations. Meanwhile, my entire relationship was unraveling. What did you do after? I finally asked. After he ended things, I fell apart for a while, Blake admitted. checked his streams obsessively, read every comment, tortured myself. But then I started therapy, made new friends who actually valued me, started focusing on my own life instead of being a supporting character in his. And now I'm better. Not perfect, but better. I date sometimes. I have boundaries. I don't accept breadcrumbs and call it love. He smiled. A real smile this time. And I'm happy, Archer. Actually happy. Something I never was with Alexander even in the good times. I thought about my own good times with Alexander. Were any of them actually good? Or was I just so grateful for scraps of attention that I convinced myself it was enough? He's going to tell you I'm lying, Blake warned. He's going to say I'm bitter, jealous, trying to ruin what you have. He might even love bomb you, suddenly be extra affectionate, make big promises. That's what he does when he feels someone slipping away. How do you know all this? Because I've seen him do it. Not just with me. There was someone before me too. A guy named Chris. Alexander told me Chris was crazy and obsessed. But after Alexander and I broke up, I found Chris on social media. Guess what? Alexander had done the same thing to him. The hiding, the promises, the eventual discard. My blood ran cold. So I'm just part of a pattern. Yeah, Blake said gently. You are. And it won't change, Archer. No matter how much you love him, no matter how perfect you try to be, because the problem isn't you. It never was. It's him. When I finally left that coffee shop, the world looked different. The same buildings, same streets, but I was seeing them through new eyes. Eyes that were finally open. I went home, but it didn't feel like home. Everything was the same. My room, my bed, my things, but I felt lost. I looked at Alexander's old messages on my phone. I love you, you're my everything. I'm so lucky to have you. Archer. Just words. Only words. Where were the actions? Where was the proof? That night, Alexander called and I watched his name flash on my screen. Babe, I have a stream tomorrow. Important sponsor one. Can you come over? Having you there is lucky for me. Lucky. I was lucky for him but not visible. Yeah, I said, but my voice sounded mechanical. I'll come, but this time I wasn't just going to watch. I was going to decide whether this relationship, this love was real or just another performance. The next day when I went to Alexander's apartment, he opened the door and kissed me, quick routine. Like checking off a box. I missed you, baby, he said, but his kiss didn't have the warmth it once did. It had become just a habit. Muscle memory. I walked inside and saw he'd already prepared his setup. Lights, camera, microphone, everything professional and polished. I was the only thing in this picture that didn't fit. Before the stream started, I gathered my courage and said, Alexander, can I be on screen with you today? Just once? I won't say anything, just sit next to you. His smile froze for a second. Then he put on that fake concerned expression. Archer, this isn't the best time, babe. There's a major sponsor watching the stream live today. First impressions matter. You understand? How many times should I understand? Alexander. My voice trembled and I tried to control it. Every time it's next time. Every time it's give me a little more time. But that time never comes. We've been together for 3 months. He grabbed my hand. Soft touch. Practiced. But now that touch felt manipulative to me. Baby. I promise. When my channel crosses 1 million subscribers, I'll talk about you first. I'll tell everyone. I promise. When? A year from now? 2 years? Or maybe never? I asked directly. He didn't say anything. Just let go of my hand and walked toward his setup. And I got my answer crystal clear. I pretended to go into his bedroom, but I stayed hidden near the door where I could hear everything. The stream started and Alexander became that fake, energetic person again. What's up, fam? Alex is back. And then, after some time, inevitably, a viewer asked, Alex, have you ever seriously, deeply loved someone? Alexander laughed, that practiced laugh that always appeared in his streams. Honestly, not really, man. I'm focused on my career right now. Love and all that is just a distraction for me at the moment. Distraction. That one word pierced my heart like an arrow. I was a distraction. Your love was a distraction. Then he continued, as if joking but very casually. Yeah, I tried a relationship once. The guy was super needy. Morning to night with I love you texts. Getting emotional over every little thing honestly drove me crazy. Thank God that phase is over. The chat flooded with laughing emojis. Dodged a bullet. Alex? You deserve better, King. Focus on yourself. And me? I stood there watching and hearing my boyfriend mock me live in front of thousands of people. That guy was me. That needy person was me who sent good morning baby texts in the morning and said I love you at night. After the stream ended, I walked straight into the living room and grabbed my jacket. Alexander was turning off the camera, still wearing that smile plastered on his face. Babe, where are you going? I planned dinner. I really looked at him for the first time. Tears were in my eyes, but I wasn't going to cry. Not anymore. I'm leaving because I finally understand that you'll never make me a priority. Alexander. Never. I'm just a convenience for you that complicates your real life. Archer. Please, man. No. I cut him off. Blake was right. You only want fame, only want numbers. And for that, you'll hurt anyone. Even me. Especially me because I quietly endure everything. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in from outside, but it was less painful than what was in my chest. Archer. Wait. We can talk. We've been talking for 3 months. Alexander. And every time you have a new excuse. And this time, I didn't come back. I walked straight out and left his voice behind me. The streets were dark and nearly empty. My footsteps echoed on the pavement as I walked without direction, just needing to move, to get away. Every breath felt heavy, like I was carrying something crushing in my lungs. My phone buzzed. Alexander's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. It rang again, and again. On the 5th attempt, I turned off my phone completely. I ended up at a park, sitting on a cold bench under a streetlight. The silence was deafening. For 3 months, I'd filled my life with Alexander's presence. His schedule, his needs, his excuses. Now in the quiet, I could finally hear my own thoughts, and they were screaming. How had I let it get this far? How had I convinced myself that hiding was normal? That being called clingy was justified? That waiting indefinitely was reasonable? I thought about my friends who were in relationships, real ones. They posted couple photos. They brought their partners to gatherings. They talked about their significant others with pride, not shame. When had I started accepting so little? A couple walked past, holding hands and laughing about something. The guy kissed his partner's forehead, right there in public, not caring who saw. Something so simple. Something I'd never had with Alexander. I sat there until the cold seeped through my jacket, until my fingers went numb. Then I finally stood up and walked home. Each step felt like progress, like distance, like freedom. When I got to my apartment, I didn't turn my phone back on. I didn't check social media. I didn't torture myself with what Alexander might be saying or doing. Instead, I took a long hot shower and let the water wash away the weight I'd been carrying. In bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I made myself a promise. I would never again make myself smaller for someone else's comfort. I would never again accept being someone's secret. I would never again confuse patience with self-abandonment. Alexander had taught me what I didn't want, and maybe that was the only valuable thing he'd ever given me. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it was the first peaceful rest I'd had in months. Because for the first time since meeting Alexander, I wasn't waiting for his text, wasn't worried about his mood, wasn't planning my life around his schedule. I was just free. The next few days were strange. The kind of strange when you're learning to live without a habit. Alexander's messages kept coming. Calls kept coming. First day 3 calls, then 5, then 10. Archer, please just talk to me. Baby, I'm sorry. I messed up, I know. But I didn't respond. I deliberately didn't block him either. I wanted him to realize that I'd finally chosen myself. But maybe he didn't really care. Maybe he was acting about regretting it too. A week later, Blake called me. How are you, Archer? I'm fine, I said automatically. But my voice clearly wasn't fine. It was hoarse and tired. Don't lie, Blake said softly. The hardest phase after a breakup is this one. When you think maybe it was your fault. Maybe you really were too needy. Maybe if you'd compromised a little more, adjusted a little more, everything would have been okay. Exactly. Precisely. That's what I'd been thinking every night. Was I really being overdramatic? Did I give up too quickly? But Archer, listen to this. Blake continued. If someone truly loves you, They won't hide you. They'll proudly show you to the world. Alexander hit us because he didn't love us. He only wanted his image, his perfect straight guy persona. We were both inconvenient truths for him. Blake's words gave me some strength, some clarity. We started talking every day, not romantically, just two people who'd been through the same pain and understood each other. But then something happened that I never expected. One night I was scrolling through my phone. Bad habit, I know. And I saw a clip from Alexander's latest stream that was going viral. He'd said on stream and his voice had that fake vulnerability, "Guys, I want to share something with you. I was recently with someone. Tried to make it work, but that relationship became very toxic. You know, emotional manipulation, constant neediness. That's why I ended it. Sometimes you have to choose yourself and your mental health. It's okay to walk away." Toxic? Emotional manipulation? Had I manipulated him? His chat was full of support messages like he'd done something brave. "You did the right thing, Alex. Self-love first, king. So proud of you for setting boundaries. Toxic people don't deserve you." And at exactly that moment I realized Alexander had made me the villain in his story. He'd shown his thousands of fans that I was the problem, that I was abusive, that I'd hurt him, when the truth was that he'd used me, hidden me, and then when I stood up for myself, he completely flipped the narrative. I broke that night, completely. But then in the morning, Blake's message came. Saw his stream. "Ignore him, Archer. His audience doesn't know the truth. But you know the truth. And eventually that will be enough. Trust me." Yes. Maybe that was enough. Maybe I didn't need validation from people who didn't even know me. I made myself a promise. I would write my own story now. I wouldn't become a character in Alexander's narrative. But the damage from that stream followed me in ways I hadn't anticipated. People from our mutual social circles started looking at me differently. Someone who'd seen the stream and knew we dated sent me a message. "Wow. Didn't know you were like that. Alexander seems really hurt." I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to defend myself, to tell everyone the truth. But I realized that would make me look exactly like what Alexander had painted me as. Desperate, obsessive, unable to let go. So I did nothing. I said nothing. I let the rumors exist because I knew that eventually the truth has a way of surfacing. Blake helped me through those dark days. "I went through the same thing," he told me over coffee one afternoon. After Alexander dumped me, people who'd only heard his side thought I was crazy. Some of my own friends distanced themselves. "How did you handle it?" I focused on the people who actually knew me, the ones who didn't need Alexander's version to know who I really was. Blake stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "And you know what? Those people who give him without question, they weren't really my friends anyway." That perspective helped. I started paying attention to who reached out to check on me versus who just disappeared. The results were telling. My best friend Sarah called me after hearing about the breakup. "Do you want to talk about it?" she asked simply. I told her everything. The hiding, the lies, the stream where he mocked me. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished she said, "That's abuse, Archer. What he did was emotional abuse." I'd never thought of it that way. But he never yelled at me. Never. "Abuse isn't just physical or loud," Sarah interrupted gently. "It's making someone feel small. It's systematic dismissal of their feelings. It's using someone's love as a tool to control them." Her words hit me hard. I'd spent so long making excuses for Alexander that I'd never labeled his behavior for what it was. That night, I started journaling, writing down everything that had happened, every red flag I'd ignored, every time I'd silenced my own discomfort to keep the peace. Seeing it all on paper was devastating and liberating at the same time. Page after page filled with moments I'd forgotten or minimized. The time he'd canceled our plans last minute because a more important streaming opportunity came up. The time he'd told me my shirt was too gay for me to wear around his friends. The time he'd laughed when I said I loved him, then claimed he thought I was joking. How had I tolerated so much? 2 weeks after the breakup, I saw Alexander at a coffee shop. He was with someone, a guy around our age, laughing at something Alexander said. My stomach dropped. He saw me too. For a moment our eyes met. I expected him to look away, to pretend he didn't see me. Instead he stood up and walked over. "Archer," he said quietly. "Can we talk?" The guy he'd been with watched us curiously. I looked at Alexander, really looked at him, and realized I felt nothing. No anger, no longing, no hurt, just emptiness. There's nothing to talk about, I said calmly. I didn't mean what I said on stream. I was just protecting your image. I know. I picked up my coffee. Goodbye, Alexander. I walked away. And this time, it felt final. Not dramatic, not painful, just done. 1 month passed after the breakup. The first month is always the hardest. I slowly rebuilt my life. Made new friends on campus. Started therapy, proper therapy where I could honestly discuss my feelings. And most importantly, I learned that in any relationship, hiding yourself, making yourself smaller is never normal. Love involves sacrifice, but self-respect should never be sacrificed. Then one day, Blake called me to meet at the downtown cafe, the same place we'd first met. He was smiling when I arrived, and for the first time he looked genuinely happy. What happened? You look really happy, I said, sitting across from him. Have you seen Alexander's latest stream? Blake asked cautiously. I shook my head. No. And honestly, I don't plan to anymore. I've moved on. Blake pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. Not to hurt me, but to show me reality. It was Alexander's stream. And the views were drastically lower. The comments section had people saying, Alex, you're not like you used to be. Content's gotten boring, bro. Doesn't feel authentic anymore. His fake personality isn't working anymore. Blake explained softly. People eventually see when someone isn't real. When everything's a performance. His audience is slowly realizing it. I didn't say anything. I didn't feel satisfaction seeing this. I just felt relieved that I wasn't with him anymore. That I'd left that toxicity behind. Archer, Blake said quietly. You know, you're really strong. You rebuilt yourself. Started therapy, made new friends. Focused on yourself. That wasn't easy, but you did it. You did it too, I said honestly. You also moved on from him. Blake smiled genuinely. Yeah. And now we're both in a better place. Stronger, wiser. We drank our coffee slow, peaceful. And this time there was no pain in our conversation. Just understanding, shared healing. A few weeks later, I started my own YouTube channel, completely different from Alexander's content. No gaming, no fake personality. Just me. My real story, my authenticity. In my first video I spoke to the camera. Nervous but honest. Hi, I'm Archer, and I was tired of hiding. Hiding myself. Hiding my identity. So now I'm going to use my voice. Share my truth. Whether people like it or not. The views weren't high at first, but the comments were genuinely supportive. People thanked me for being real, for being vulnerable, and for the first time in my life I felt like I was enough. Without hiding. Without being fake. Without needing anyone else's approval. 2 weeks later, Alexander sent me a message. A long paragraph. Archer, I'm really sorry. I messed up badly. I was selfish and I hurt you. I see that now. Can we talk, please? I looked at the screen. At that message. And then, I did nothing. No reply. No block. Just nothing. Because some things don't need a response. Some apologies aren't worth accepting. And I wasn't that person anymore who craved validation. Blake and I became good friends. Real friends who celebrated each other's growth. And life? Life was finally on my own terms. Because I'd learned if someone truly loves you, they won't hide you from the world. They'll celebrate you proudly. And if they don't do that, if they keep you as a secret, then they're not worth having. I'd gotten my self-respect back. My voice back. And that was more valuable than any relationship. My channel slowly grew. Not because I was chasing numbers or trying to be someone I wasn't, but because I was finally authentic. I talked about mental health, about relationships, about the importance of knowing your worth. People connected with that honesty. One day, a comment stopped me cold. Thank you for sharing your story. I was in the exact same situation with my partner. Your videos gave me the courage to leave. I read it 3 times. Then I recorded a response video, talking directly to people in similar situations. You're not crazy for wanting to be acknowledged. You're not needy for expecting basic respect. You're not ang for too much by wanting to be loved openly. The response was overwhelming. Messages flooded in from people who'd been hidden, dismissed, made to feel like they were the problem. I realized Alexander hadn't just hurt me and Blake. This pattern was everywhere. I started a support group, meeting weekly with others who'd experienced similar relationships. We shared stories, offered advice, held each other accountable for maintaining boundaries. It became the thing I was most proud of. 3 months after the breakup, I ran into Alexander again, this time at a bookstore. He was alone, looking at his phone with a frown. When he saw me, his expression changed. Surprise, then something like regret. "Archer," he said, walking toward me. "I've been watching your channel. I didn't know how to respond to that. You're doing really well," he continued. "The support group thing, the videos about self-worth. It's good." "Thank you," I said simply. I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not just for show. He looked genuinely uncomfortable. "I treated you terribly. I was so focused on my image that I forgot you were a real person with real feelings." I studied his face, looking for the performance. But he just looked tired. Human. "I accept your apology," I said. "But that doesn't change what happened." "I know," he shifted his weight. "I just wanted you to know that you were right. About everything. I was using you and I'm sorry." We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. Then I said, "I hope you figure things out, Alexander. I really do. But I can't be part of that journey." He nodded. "I understand. Take care, Archer." "You too." This time when I walked away, it felt like true closure. Not because he'd apologized, his apology didn't fix anything, but because I'd faced him without crumbling, without needing anything from him. That night, I called Blake. "Alexander apologized today. How do you feel?" "Indifferent," I said, surprised by my own answer. I didn't feel angry or vindicated or hurt. Just nothing. Blake laughed. "That's how you know you've healed. When they become just another person." He was right. Alexander had gone from being the center of my world to someone I'd once known. The power he'd held over my emotions was completely gone. I ended the call and looked around my apartment. Photos of my support group on the wall, my journal on the nightstand, my laptop open to my growing channel. This was my life now, built by me, for me. No hiding, no shrinking, no compromising who I was for someone else's comfort. I'd learned the hardest lesson, that love should never require you to disappear, and anyone who asks you to isn't offering love at all. I was finally completely free.